The music froze. Conversations died, and every eye in the ballroom snapped toward the trembling girl in the blue gown, just as Lord Hawthorne's cruel laugh echoed. Who let that into a duke's ball? She looks like her corset gave up. But before anyone could breathe, a voice colder than winter sliced through the silence. The duke himself stepped forward. Say that again, he said, and you insult my sister. The room erupted, but the night was far from over. Thank you for sticking around with me, my wonderful story family. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The chandeliers sparkled like frozen stars, casting their cold light across the grand ballroom. Laughter and music swirled, but Liliana barely noticed. She stood near the edge, hands clenched around the folds of her modest gown, heart hammering in her chest. Her stepmother had insisted she attend, claiming it would be good for her future, yet every fiber of her body screamed against it. She wasn't prepared to face their eyes, their whispers, the cruel judgments that always followed her. Then it happened. A young nobleman, tall and smirking, approached her. His voice was sharp, cutting. Well, what do we have here? He sneered. Is this supposed to be a lady or a project for someone to improve? The room froze, but some nobles laughed. Half mockery, half amusement. Liliana's face burned with shame, her ears ringing with the sting of his words. She wanted to vanish, to sink beneath the polished marble floor. Such an unfortunate figure, he continued, gesturing at her frame. I've seen better posture on a scarecrow. Her hands trembled. Her heart pounded. She could barely breathe. She wanted to speak, to defend herself, but no words would come. What he didn't know, what no one knew, was that she was not just any girl at the ball. Liliana was the Duke's favorite sister. The Duke of Hawthorne, the most respected and feared noble in the region, had sworn she would be protected at all costs, if he only knew who she was. But for now the laughter and whispers clawed at her, and as the nobleman leaned closer, ready with another cruel insult, her pulse spiked. Who would dare humiliate her again, knowing that someone would come for her? She didn't know yet that tonight the Duke would step in, and the world that had mocked her would soon tremble. Liliana retreated to the edge of the ballroom, her back pressed against a marble column. Her hands shook as she tried to steady her racing heart. She hated that she felt small, insignificant, as if every whisper and glance were a verdict. Yet in the quiet moments of her life, away from the mocking eyes of society, Liliana had grown strong in ways few could see. She was the Duke's favorite sister, though few knew it. Lord Hawthorne had taken her under his wing after their mother's passing, shielding her from their father's cruel second wife, and from a world that often measured a woman's worth by her beauty or status. He had always said, Liliana, strength isn't always in the sword you wield. It's in the dignity you carry when others try to break you. And Liliana clung to those words, even now, as laughter and sneers echoed around her. Her relationship with the Duke was complex. He was distant at times, commanding and stern, but his protection was unwavering. He knew every slight, every insult aimed at her, even when she tried to hide it. He had a way of noticing what others ignored. Her kindness, her intelligence, her quiet courage. Her stepmother, by contrast, was a constant reminder of her fragility. She had spent years belittling Liliana, calling her lazy, clumsy, or unworthy of attention. Every cruel word at the ball had roots in years of conditioning, and every glance from the crowd seemed to echo her stepmother's judgment. Liliana's desire was simple but profound, to be seen for who she truly was, not for her size, her timidity, or the roles others forced upon her. And yet she feared that tonight, that desire would be crushed again. Just as she tried to shrink further into the shadows, a subtle ripple of movement caught her eye. Across the room by the grand staircase, the Duke had arrived. His presence was commanding, yet calm, an unspoken warning to anyone who dared challenge her dignity. The nobleman who had insulted her straightened, sensing the shift. Whispers spread across the ballroom like wildfire. Even Liliana felt the tension. He would not tolerate insults aimed at his sister. Her heart thumped, not in fear but in hope. Could the man who had always seemed untouchable actually stand up for her tonight? Would the Duke finally step in and silence those who sought to humiliate her? The air in the ballroom shifted, first subtly, then sharply, like a storm rolling in unnoticed until it is suddenly upon you. Liliana felt it before she saw him. A hush rippled through the hall. Fans stopped fluttering. Conversations broke mid-sentence. Even the orchestra stumbled over a note. Because the Duke of Hawthorne had arrived. Not fashionably late, not casually present, but with the full weight of his authority. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in midnight black formal attire, and carrying the unmistakable air of command, he surveyed the ballroom with cool, assessing eyes. But he was not looking for admiration. He was looking for her. Liliana's breath caught, and then his gaze found her, pressed against a column, cheeks flushed with humiliation, body stiff with the memory of the nobleman's cruel words. The Duke's expression hardened instantly. He didn't need an explanation. He didn't need to ask what happened. One look at her trembling hands and the smug expression of the nobleman standing nearby told him everything. And when the Duke began walking toward them, the crowd stepped aside like waves parting for a ship made of steel. "Your Grace," the nobleman said quickly, forcing a smile and a bow. I didn't see you arrive." The Duke did not return the smile. Instead, his voice came out low and controlled, yet sharp enough to cut through bone. "Step away from my sister." Gasps, whispers, shock rippled outward. Sister?" The nobleman choked, paling. The Duke stopped directly in front of him, towering over him with icy calm. "Did you not hear me?" His tone remained soft, but the softness was dangerous. The nobleman stepped back so quickly he nearly stumbled. The Duke's eyes, usually warm only for Liliana, were glacial. "If ever again," he said slowly, "I hear you insult a woman's appearance, her body, her worth, you will be escorted out of every noble event in this kingdom, and I will personally see to it that your family is informed of your behavior." The nobleman swallowed hard. I didn't know she was—" "Her identity changes nothing," the Duke snapped. "Cruelty is still cruelty. Cowardice is still cowardice." Liliana's eyes widened. Her brother's words struck her heart like a flame in the dark. For years she had believed her softness made her weak. Her quietness made her invisible. Her body made her less worthy. But in that moment, with the Duke standing between her and her tormentor, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Protected, valued, unconditionally defended. The nobleman bowed stiffly and fled, mumbling apologies that no one cared to hear. The Duke finally turned to Liliana, and his voice softened. Barely. "Liliana," he said gently, "you have done nothing wrong. Look at me." She lifted her eyes. "I will never allow anyone to shame you for simply being who you are." Her throat tightened. She blinked back tears, not of sadness this time, but of relief. But the night wasn't over, because defending her was only the beginning, rebuilding her confidence, teaching her to walk into any ballroom without fear, would take more than a single confrontation, and deeper still, dangerous rumors were already beginning to stir among the nobles. Rumors that would put Liliana and the Duke in a complicated position no one expected. Tonight, everything was changing. The orchestra resumed, but the atmosphere had shifted. The laughter was quieter, the glances sharper, the whispers louder than ever. Liliana stood beside the Duke as he guided her toward the center of the room, but her palms were damp, her stomach twisting. She felt exposed, as if all the eyes that once ignored her now burned holes through her dress. Not all stares were kind. "Did you hear? That girl is the Duke's sister? Her? But look at her. She doesn't fit the part. Why would he defend someone like that? She's so plain." Maybe he pities her, or maybe she threatened to cry. Each whisper stabbed her like a quiet insult sharpened in secret. Liliana tried to focus on her breathing, tried to remember her brother's words. "You have done nothing wrong. I will never allow anyone to shame you. But shame was a cruel, stubborn thing. It clung to her like a second skin. The Duke leaned slightly toward her. Ignore them, he murmured. Cowards always feel loudest behind their fans and wine glasses. But ignoring them felt impossible. Her body felt too big, her voice too small, her presence too unwelcome. Her stepmother, Lady Beatrice, appeared through the crowd like a viper scenting wounded prey. One look at her smirk told Liliana everything. She was enjoying every second. My dear, Lady Beatrice crooned mockingly, causing scenes now? How unbecoming. The entire ballroom is talking about you. The Duke shot her a cold glare. You will watch your tone, he warned. But Lady Beatrice pretended not to hear. She circled Liliana with sweet, poisonous words. If only you had listened to me. I told you that dress did nothing for your figure. But you insisted. And now look, everyone is staring. Liliana lowered her eyes, shame burning in her chest. The Duke stepped forward, voice sharp. That's enough, Lady Beatrice. But the damage was done. Liliana's breath wavered. Her hands curled into fists. Her eyes stung. She whispered, I want to leave. The Duke's expression softened immediately. As you wish, Liliana. But know this. Running from them does not make you weak. It makes them exposed for who they are. He offered his arm. She hesitated, because leaving meant surrender. Staying meant fighting a battle she wasn't sure she could win. But then something unexpected happened. An older duchess, the elegant, respected Duchess Penrose, stepped toward her with a warm smile. My dear, she said gently, do not listen to unkind tongues. Confidence does not come from being flawless. It comes from surviving moments like this. Liliana blinked in surprise. Kindness? From a stranger? The Duchess continued. You carry yourself with more grace than half the ladies here, even while trembling. That is strength. The Duke nodded in agreement. Listen to her. She sees what I see. Liliana swallowed, something shifting inside her. Something small, something fragile, but something brave. Maybe walking out wasn't the answer. Maybe for the first time, she wanted to stand her ground. She lifted her chin ever so slightly. I'll stay, she whispered. The Duke placed a reassuring hand behind her, and though the whispers continued, a new light flickered in Liliana's eyes, a fragile spark of courage that the night had tried so. For the first time that night, Liliana stood taller. She wasn't fearless, far from it, but she was present, refusing to let humiliation chase her from the ballroom. The Duke remained near enough to protect her, yet far enough to let her breathe. Duchess Penrose offered gentle conversation, grounding her nerves. But the whispers didn't stop. They merely moved, changed, evolved. Now murmurs rippled along the walls, fans fluttering with sudden curiosity. Is she truly the Duke's favorite sister? I heard he built her that garden behind Hawthorne Manor. He protects her as if she were a queen. Some say she's the only softness he has. Lillian felt her heart twist. Favorite sister? The only softness he has? She had always known her brother loved her, but she never knew the world noticed it too. Yet just as her confidence began to steady, everything shifted. Because the doors of the ballroom opened again, and in walked a man she had prayed never to see. Lord Everett, the same nobleman who had mocked her weight, laughed at her introversion, and humiliated her in front of half the ballroom. The man who had caused all of this. But this time the expression on his face wasn't smugness. It was fear. He scanned the room, panic in his eyes, and went pale when he saw the Duke beside Liliana. But he also saw something else. More powerful men whispering, ladies glancing, rumors spreading. Everett swallowed hard. He knew he had insulted the wrong woman. The Duke watched him approach, his face turning to stone. You dare return? The Duke said in a low, icy voice. After what you did to my sister? Everett bowed shakily. Your Grace, I did not know. The Duke stepped forward. You did not need to know. Decency should not depend on titles. Gas filled the ballroom. Liliana felt her lungs tighten. This was the moment she feared. Everett would lie. He would twist everything. He would make her feel small again. But instead, in a trembling voice, Everett said, "Your Grace, Lady Liliana, I must confess something." The room leaned closer. Everett's eyes darted to Liliana, then away again in shame. "I insulted her," he said. "But it wasn't because of her appearance." Liliana frowned. The Duke stiffened. "Then why?" the Duke demanded. Everett exhaled shakily. "Because I was dared." A horrified silence dropped over the ballroom like a curtain. "Dared?" Liliana whispered. Everett nodded miserably. There is a group of young lords," he stammered. "Arrogant, entitled fools. They make sport of humiliating, introverted ladies, especially ones who keep to themselves. They wanted to see if I could provoke Lady Liliana into tears. I refused at first, but then—" He stopped, guilt consuming him. "But then I gave in, and I humiliated your sister for their entertainment." Liliana felt her chest hollow. The Duke's fist clenched, but Everett wasn't done. "The worst part is, they wagered money on it. I didn't even win," he added bitterly. "They said she didn't break easily enough." A stunned murmur swept the crowd. Liliana's heart dropped. They wanted her to break. Her quiet nature, her softness, had made her a target. She wasn't mocked because she was unworthy. She was mocked because her gentleness threatened cruel hearts. Everett fell to his knees. "I am truly sorry," he whispered. "You deserved none of it." Liliana's breath trembled, not because of his apology, but because of what it revealed. There were people in that room, right now, who had bet on her humiliation. People still whispering, people still watching, and someone powerful, had orchestrated it. Someone who feared the Duke, someone who envied his influence, someone who wanted to wound him by destroying her. This wasn't random cruelty, it was a planned attack. A chill rippled through her. The Duke stepped closer to Everett. "Name them." Everett shook his head. "I cannot." "You will." "Your Grace, if I do, they will destroy me." The Duke's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "And what do you think I will do if you do not?" Everett inhaled sharply, eyes flicking to the crowd, fear turning to resignation. And then he whispered a name that made Liliana's entire world tilt. "Lord Camden." The Duke froze. Duchess Penrose gasped. Lillian felt the ground disappear, because Lord Camden was not just any nobleman, he was her brother's rival. A man who hated the Duke's power, a man who wanted the crown's favor, a man who had once courted Liliana's stepmother. He had targeted her, to get to the Duke, to break him, to hurt her, to make her humiliation entertainment. Liliana's breath shook violently. Her brother's hand tightened around hers. This wasn't just cruelty. This was betrayal. Calculated, cold, personal, and it changed everything. The ballroom, moments ago buzzing with shock, descended into a suffocating tension. Liliana felt every heartbeat echo painfully in her chest. Lord Camden, a man who smiled like a gentleman and struck like a serpent. The Duke's face hardened with a fury so cold it could shatter glass. "Where is he?" he growled. Everett stammered. "He was here earlier, Your Grace. But when word spread that you were searching for the man who insulted your sister, he slipped away." Coward, of course he did. But the damage was already done. Whispers erupted, louder, sharper, now dripping with dread. "If Camden orchestrated this, the Duke won't let it go. This could start a political war. Poor Lady Liliana. She's become the target." Liliana froze. The target. The one everyone watched. The one mocked, judged, measured. Not because she was weak, but because she mattered to someone powerful. Her throat tightened painfully. The Duke squeezed her hand. "I swear to you, Liliana, he will answer for this." But even as he said the words, a footman rushed into the ballroom, pale as a ghost. "You're great," he whispered urgently in the Duke's ear. "What?" the Duke snapped. The footman swallowed hard. "Lord Camden, has filed an official complaint with the Crown. The Duke stilled. The room gasped. What complaint? The Duke asked, voice dangerously low. The footman trembled. He claims you threatened him earlier tonight. He also accuses you of defaming him publicly. His allies, several powerful lords, have already signed the report to support him. Lillian's stomach dropped. Camden hadn't fled in fear. He had been preparing. He had used her humiliation, her pain, her vulnerability, as ammunition. The Duke's jaw clenched. If this is true, I must go to the council immediately. No, Liliana whispered, voice cracking. But he had to. If he didn't defend himself, Camden would destroy his reputation, his title, his influence, everything. He touched her cheek gently. Listen to me, he whispered. You are not alone. I will return. Stay with Duchess Penrose. Do not let Camden or his allies near you. Liliana's breath trembled. She didn't want him to go. Not now, not when the walls were closing in. Not when she finally found courage, only to watch it shatter. But his duty called, and Camden knew it. The Duke pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, a gesture he rarely showed in public, and then turned, leaving the ballroom with guards at his heels. The door closed behind him, and the world felt cold. Immediately the atmosphere shifted. Without the Duke's presence, the jackals emerged. A lady giggled behind her fan. At least now she can't hide behind him. Another whispered, do you think Camden will win? Imagine the scandal. Men stared with judgment, women with cruel delight. And then, her stepmother approached, Lady Beatrice, simmering with triumph. I warned you, she said quietly, smile sharp as a blade. Your presence brings nothing but trouble. Liliana flinched. Beatrice stepped closer, whispering with poisonous sweetness. You should never have come to this ball. A shy, awkward girl like you. Did you really think you could survive here? Look what you've done. Your brother is now facing political disgrace. Because of you. The words pierced deeper than Camden's schemes ever could, because Beatrice knew exactly where Liliana's wounds lived. You are a burden, she murmured. To him, to this family, to everyone. Liliana's eyes burned. Duchess Penrose stepped forward, face stern. That is enough, Beatrice. But Beatrice only shrugged, her victory too sweet to hide. Then, just when Liliana thought it couldn't get worse, Camden himself appeared from the side corridor. He moved with calm arrogance, flanked by two lords who supported his lie. His eyes landed on Liliana. He smiled, a slow, merciless smile. Well, he drawled, it seems your brother has been summoned. How unfortunate he cannot protect you now. Duchess Penrose stepped in front of Liliana, but Camden raised a hand. No need for dramatics, he said smoothly. I only wish to speak with the lady. Liliana shook her head. Her breath came fast. Her fingers shook. Leave me alone, she whispered. Camden's smile widened. Oh, my dear Lady Liliana, I have no intention of harming you. In fact, he leaned closer, voice dropping to a chilling whisper. You unknowingly helped me tonight. Liliana froze. Camden's eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. Your reaction earlier, your tears, your fear, perfectly timed. The council will believe the Duke threatened me because he was emotional about you. Her stomach twisted. You're using me? Oh, don't look so shocked, he said lazily. You were always useful to someone. Liliana's breath collapsed. She stepped back, trembling. Camden lowered his voice to a deadly whisper. You think this night humiliated you? Wait until the Duke loses everything because of you. Tears gathered in her eyes, and then he delivered the final blow. You don't belong here, Liliana. And very soon, neither will he. She broke. Her vision blurred. Her heart pounded painfully. The shame, the fear, the guilt crushed her all at once. She fled the ballroom, running past the guests, past the whispers, past her stepmother's smirk. She ran until her lungs begged for air, and out in the cold garden, hidden beneath moonlight, Liliana collapsed into tears, believing everything was her fault, believing Camden might win. believing she had ruined her brother's life. For the first time that night, she truly felt alone. The following morning, Carlisle Manor was quiet, too quiet. Servants moved softly as if afraid to disturb the storm that had rumbled through the house the night before. Lillian woke with a heaviness in her chest. She barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, the memory replayed. Pontrell's laughter, his insult, the cold stares, her brother's rage. She rose from bed, dressed in a soft blue morning gown, and stepped into the garden to clear her mind. The winter roses were beginning to bloom, pale and delicate, just like her heart felt. She leaned down to touch a rose petal when a deep voice cut through the air. "Lillian." She froze. The Duke of Carlisle, her brother, stood behind her. But this time, he was not angry. He looked worried, genuinely worried. She straightened slowly. "Good morning, Hayden." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You did nothing wrong last night." Her throat tightened. "I embarrassed you." "No." His voice hardened. "Pontrell embarrassed himself." She looked away, blinking fast. Hayden exhaled sharply. "Lillian, you are not weak. You are not small. And you are not someone men like him get to judge." Her lip quivered. "Then why does it hurt so much?" He hesitated, then did something rare, something he hadn't done since they were children. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Because you feel deeply," he said softly, "and that is not a flaw. It is a strength." For a moment she wanted to collapse into her brother's embrace. She wanted to let him carry all her pain the way he always carried burdens for the kingdom, but she simply nodded. "I will be fine," she whispered. Hayden studied her carefully. "No, you won't. Not until something is made right." She frowned. "What do you mean?" His jaw clenched, eyes turning icy. "I visited Lord Pontrell this morning." Lillian's heart stopped. "You didn't. Hayden, please tell me you didn't threaten." "Threaten?" His lips curved in a slow, dangerous smile. "No, Lillian. I warned him." She swallowed. "Warned him of what?" The Duke moved closer, lowering his voice to a tone that could freeze blood. "That if he ever speaks your name with disrespect again, he will no longer be welcome in any noble circle in England." Lillian gasped. Her brother wasn't bluffing. When the Duke of Carlisle spoke, society listened. "But Hayden, everyone will know." "Good," he cut in. "Let them." Her eyes blurred with tears. He wasn't just defending her honor. He was protecting her heart. "Lillian," he said again, gentler this time, "you are my sister, my only sibling, my blood. No man will ever humiliate you without answering me." The tears finally spilled, warm and silent. He stepped forward, and for the first time in years, he pulled her into a full embrace. Strong, protective, unshakable. She clung to him, trembling. "Thank you," she whispered brokenly. "You deserve respect," he murmured into her hair. "And one day, you will find a man who sees you, your heart, your brilliance, your kindness. Until then, I will stand guard." A breeze swept through the garden, rustling the roses. A fragile peace settled over her, but deep inside, a certainty began to bloom. This wasn't over. Someone was coming, and Pontrell had no idea whom he had awoken. By late afternoon, the entire town was buzzing with scandal. Whispers floated through drawing rooms, riding clubs, tea parlors, carriage routes. "Did you hear what the Duke told Pontrell? He nearly shook with fear." The Duke never threatens anyone, unless it is personal. His sister must mean the world to him. Lillian, unaware of the chaos she had accidentally unleashed, sat in the Carlisle reading room, clutching a book she hadn't turned a single page of. Her mind was still caught between shame and gratitude, and something she couldn't name. A soft knock sounded. Before she could answer, the door opened. Slowly, cautiously. A tall man stepped inside. Not rushed, not arrogant, not loud. Graceful, steady, controlled. He bowed deeply. "Lady Lillian." She blinked. Lord Everley. Indeed, Lord Nathaniel Everley, the Marquis known for avoiding gossip, avoiding scandals, and avoiding society altogether. A quiet, brilliant man, reserved, observant, an introvert, just like her. Lillian stood quickly, heart jumping. My lord, I didn't expect a visit. He stepped forward, hands behind his back, eyes soft but intense. I came to apologize. Apologize? She whispered. For what? His jaw flexed. I was there last night. Her breath stopped. He continued, voice steady but laced with anger. Not at her. At the moment Pontrell insulted you, I saw your face, and I saw the room laugh instead of defending you. He inhaled sharply. I should have spoken, should have said something, anything. Her throat tightened. You owe me no apology. He shook his head, eyes darkening. I owe you respect. Silence pressed between them, warm, electric. Then he reached into his coat. I brought something. He held out a small object wrapped in velvet. Her fingers trembled as she took it and unwrapped the cloth. A hand-carved wooden rose, delicate, detailed, beautifully imperfect, like something shaped with careful hands and quiet devotion. I made it last night, he said softly. After what happened, I could not sleep. Lillian's lips parted. You made this? Every petal, he answered. I wanted you to have something that reminded you of the truth, not their lies. Her chest tightened painfully. My lady, he continued, stepping closer, voice lowering, your sighs, your shyness, your gentleness. They are not flaws. They are rare, and they are beautiful. Her eyes stung. No man had ever spoken to her like that. Not with pity, not with arrogance, with sincerity. Slowly, carefully, Lord Everley lifted her hand. May I? He asked softly. She nodded. He placed the wooden rose into her palm, his fingers brushing hers. Warm, gentle, steady. Her heart fluttered, wild and terrified and alive. He met her eyes, forcing honesty into the space between them. Lillian, I saw you long before last night. His voice dropped, barely a whisper. I have admired you for months. Her breath caught. I never approached, he added, because, like you, I know what it means to be quiet in a loud world. The room seemed to melt away. Two introverts, two souls overlooked by the glittering ballroom, two hearts that understood silence better than applause. Lillian swallowed hard. Why tell me this now? Because, he said gently, I refuse to stay silent while others make you doubt your worth. She covered her mouth as a tear slipped down. Nathaniel stepped even closer, careful not to overwhelm her. Lady Lillian, may I call on you tomorrow? Properly. Her heart thundered. She nodded, small, shy, glowing. Yes, my lord, she whispered. I would like that very much. His eyes softened in a way she had never witnessed from any man, not even in novels. He bowed, one hand pressed over his heart. Good afternoon, my lady. Then he left, closing the door gently behind him. Lillian pressed the wooden rose to her chest, breath trembling. For the first time since the ball, she felt seen. She felt valued. She felt chosen. And she didn't yet know. Her life was changing more than she imagined. The next morning arrived with a gentle snowfall, dusting Carlisle Manor in soft white. Lillian stood by the window, clutching the wooden rose Lord Everley had gifted her, her heart fluttering in anticipation. A knock came at her door. Before she could answer, her brother, the Duke, stepped inside. Hayden's expression softened when he saw her. You look different this morning, he murmured. Different? She asked nervously. Hopeful, he said with a faint smile. It suits you, she blushed. Lord Everley is calling today. The Duke's brow lifted. Ah, so he truly gathered the courage. His tone held approval, and something else. Relief. Before she could ask further, a footman appeared breathlessly. My lord, Lord Everley is here. Lillian's heart leapt. Hayden turned to her with a gentle firmness. Remember what I told you. You deserve respect, and someone who sees you. She nodded, breath trembling. Then she descended the grand staircase, and there he was. Lord Nathaniel Everleigh stood waiting in the entrance hall, coat dusted lightly with snow, dark hair slightly windswept, and eyes, those steady, thoughtful eyes, lighting up the moment they landed on her. He bowed deeply. "Lady Lillian." "Good morning, my lord," she whispered, cheeks warming. Hayden approached, posture protective but polite. "Nathaniel," the Duke said, "we should talk. Briefly." Everleigh nodded. "Of course." The Duke guided him to his study while Lillian stood anxiously outside, twisting the wooden rose between her fingers. Inside, the low voices grew tense. "I need to know your intentions toward my sister," Hayden said firmly. Lillian could imagine his expression, sharp, assessing, ready to defend. Nathaniel's reply was steady as stone. "My Duke, I intend to court her with sincerity, with patience, and with absolute respect." "Many men say that," Hayden muttered. Nathaniel didn't hesitate. "Yes, but I am not many men." Silence. Then Everleigh continued, voice sincere. "She has a gentle heart, a brilliant mind, and a soul this society doesn't deserve. I admire her not despite her quietness, but because of it." Lillian covered her mouth to muffle a gasp. "And," he added softly, "I will never allow a single person to belittle her again. Not while I breathe." Silence again. Then footsteps. The door opened. The Duke stepped out first, expression unreadable. Lillian braced herself. Then Hayden took her hand and placed it gently into Lord Everleigh's. Her breath caught. Hayden spoke carefully, but emotion thickened his tone. "Lillian. He is worthy." Her heart shattered and healed at the same time. She looked up at Nathaniel, who gazed at her as though she were the only soul alive. He spoke softly. "Would you walk with me?" She nodded, and together they stepped into the snowy gardens. For a long moment, they simply walked in silence. Two quiet souls, steps in sync, hearts learning each other's rhythm. Finally, Nathaniel exhaled. "There is something I want you to know." She looked up at him. "Last night," he continued quietly, "when I saw you cry because of Pontrell, I realized how deeply I never want to see you hurt again." She froze. His voice dropped, low, honest, trembling with emotion he rarely showed. "Lillian, you deserve someone who chooses you every single day. Someone who sees your worth when others overlook it. Someone who cherishes the softness everyone else underestimates." Her breath hitched. "Nathaniel." He took her hands gently, carefully, reverently, as if they were something precious. "I cannot promise you loud declarations," he said, "but I can promise you quiet constancy, loyalty, devotion, and a heart that has admired you longer than you will ever know." Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "You truly want me?" He stepped closer, breath warming her chilled cheeks. "I do not merely want you." His voice trembled. "I choose you." Her tears fell in a soft rush. She never thought she would hear such words. Not in this lifetime. Not from anyone, let alone from a man like him. When she didn't speak, Nathaniel leaned in slightly. "Lillian, may I?" Her heart fluttered. "You may." His kiss was not grand or dramatic, not the kind one would see in crowded ballrooms. It was soft, quiet, deeply intimate, just like the two of them. A kiss that whispered, "You are enough. You are wanted. You are loved." When they finally pulled apart, Lillian's world felt new, warm, safe, blossoming. Nathaniel pressed his forehead to hers. "I want to court you properly," he whispered. She smiled, tears sparkling. "And I want that too." From the terrace, the Duke watched quietly, and for the first time, his hardened gaze softened into pride. His sister, overlooked, mocked, underestimated, had been seen, chosen, cherished, and destiny had found her at last. The end. Thank you, my dear viewers, for staying till the end of this story. Your love, your likes, your comments, they mean more than words can ever say. If this story touched your heart even a little, please subscribe, like, and share. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Please make me reach 1,000 subscribers because it gives me strength to do more. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here.